G'day, I'm Tim Thompson. Today we're having a look at setting up some dripper tubes so that they don't cause you ongoing problems and issues with maintenance. When you're having a look at a commercial system and it's set up, there's a real plan to it and a real purpose to all the parts. And this makes them easy to maintain, easy to look after, and it stops them getting in the way. So let's go through a few basics today for you setting up a small irrigation system so it's got all the components and features of the large commercial ones. And hey guys, if you like this sort of video and you find it useful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and there's plenty more content on timthompson.ag. My first tip with irrigation pipe is don't run it too close to your end posts or your fence. I always try and stick 900mm or 3 feet away from the posts in a straight line with them. That way I can always find the pipe. If I develop a leak or a blowout in the pipe, it's not going to destabilise the fence or the end posts of the trellis. And if I get a post break in the future, I can replace it knowing that I can go anywhere around that post without breaking the irrigation pipe. Next tip is always run a large enough diameter pipe on your mains to carry the flow of water that your pump can put out, but also that you're going to draw on at the end where you do your irrigation. For my system, I'm using 32mm green line. It's called green line because there's a green line on the pipe, and it's agricultural grade pipe, so it's a little bit cheaper than domestic, but it still does a really good job at transferring high volumes of water under high pressure. It's important to know how far you're going to be pumping and what performance your pump has when you order your pipe. Your irrigation supplier will help you out, and you can also access a whole range of tables on the internet, and they're quite easy to follow. All you really need to know is the performance of your pump, the distance you want to push the water, and how many litres a minute you want delivered at the other end. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that you can make with dripper tube is to actually just have it on the ground around the plant. You're likely to catch this with a mower, with your hoe, whenever you weed or work on the plants, because we all know that things get out of control from time to time. The first thing we want to do is we want to have the dripper tube up out of the way. The other thing that's really important to note is that if you've got your dripper tube lying on the ground, when the water stops running through the tube, it actually sucks up a little bit of dirt if it's in contact with the ground as the pressure equalises in the hose, and you can actually over time clog your drippers just by leaving them on the ground. Now for the next part, we're going to need some safety glasses, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to run a wire out somewhere between 150 and 300mm off the ground. Because I'm only using short rows and they're just steel posts, what I've actually done is I've oriented the steel post so that the holes are facing outwards towards the end of the row, and that gives me a location to tie off to, using the 2 back fins as the meat of the post. If you want to find out how to tie the knot, hit the link above and that'll take you to a separate video on tying that knot. Once we've tied it off, I'm going to strain up the wire and use this little max tensor just to hold the wire nice and tight, and it can be readjustable if the wire ever lets go. And I'm using 2mm high tensile whites wire for this job. Next up, all we have to do is use a small short section of 2.5mm tie wire to tie this irrigation wire up to every intermediate post. I'm just using the same holes that I tied off to at the end. Now this is the biggest mistake that people make when they're setting up dripper tube, and it means you can't really work with it effectively at all. This dripper tube is coming up from behind the post here. So when we tighten this dripper tube up and attach it to our wire we've just erected, we're going to be putting strain on all the fittings and it's likely to blow apart. Not only that, but I can catch this bit of tube with my mower when I go back behind the post. What we want to actually do is have a riser come up out of the ground just inside the post within the row. And then what we're going to be able to do is attach our dripper tube to that riser with a T-piece. That allows me to have a short piece of dripper tube here attached to this post, and we can pull it nice and tight. With a 1-inch sleeve of 25mm pipe, I can secure the dripper tube to the end post. With that job done, all I have to do now is assemble the T-piece using a pair of secateurs to not only cut the pipe but also secure the clips. Strain the other end up, job's done. The very last job I have to do is to connect my new tightly secured pipe to the supporting wire, and for that there's a range of options. I'm using Jiffy clips. These are my actual favourite. They're just a spiral cut piece of water pipe that you clip around the tube and the wire. They never come off, they're really cheap, they're really simple, no clips to wear out, no moving parts. Probably the next most important thing in your irrigation system is a decent filter. Now I've got a disc filter, this is my preferred style of filter, and there's no point having a filter if you don't regularly clean it. So make sure you not only install a filter, but you establish some kind of routine, autumn, spring, of cleaning out your filters, more often if you're running any nutrient through your lines. Even if you don't have a pump and filter set up like I've just shown you, you should at least invest in inline filters. These are simple little baskets with fine holes in them that trap any particulates and will give you years of extra use out of your irrigation system if you remember to clean them. So filters aren't something to be afraid of. They're actually really simple and easy to maintain, and small systems like this are an absolute breeze to set up. You can do it very quickly on your own. Try and avoid systems that snake around your whole garden or your whole orchard or your whole plot. You'll not only forget where they are, but you'll hit them every time you try and do work. Whereas if you keep everything in the one spot and keep all the angles at right angles wherever possible, it's easy to find the pipes later on, 15, 20 years down the track. When it comes to set up a really small little section dripper like I am on these 2 trellised fruit trees, it gets even easier. I'm of course going to use my pre-inserted dripper tape, but this time I'm just going to use some 2.5mm tie wire. It's non-high tensile, I can easily bend it with my fingers, and I can just literally manually pull it up because it's only a 2 metre section that I have to do. But I'm still going to follow the same rules, and this is important. I'm going to come about 1 foot inside the post, I'm going to come up with a riser, I'm going to have my dripper line about 30 centimetres off the ground, and I'm going to suspend it with clips from the wire. And doing all of that sounds really complicated, but it's actually easy. Last but not least, clip it together. And forgive me with my very final comment, but I hope I'm not being too obvious. Run your system and make sure there's no leaks before you bury all your pipes, so you don't have to go running around looking for wet patches for the next couple of weeks. So I hope that's helped. No matter whether you're setting up a short 2 metre stretch of dripper tube, a decent section of trellised fruit, or even a commercial sized vineyard, you should always treat pre-inserted dripper tube the same. Keep it tight, keep it off the ground, and clip it to a wire. Well guys, I hope this has inspired you or given you some ideas for setting up a low maintenance, worry-free drip system for whatever your little rows of stuff are at home. Guys, if you like this sort of video, please hit the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up, and there's plenty more content on timthompson.ag.